The United States covers a vast 3.79 million square miles, an enormous canvas of landscapes, climates, and quirks. From towering peaks to sun-scorched deserts, no two states feel quite the same. But beyond the postcard landmarks lies a stranger side, bizarre geographic twists that defy logic and leave even lifelong Americans scratching their heads. In this video, we're diving into 7 of the most puzzling geographic oddities across the US, and the surprising reasons behind them. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or just a curious Americophile, yes, that's a real word, get ready to question what you thought you knew about the map. Let's kick things off with a city that almost feels like 5 different cities in one. New York City covers just 322 square miles, yet it's divided into 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, each one matching the boundaries of a separate county. That alone is unusual, but what's truly unique is how these boroughs function. In any other state, a county government would have more power than a city government. But not here. In New York City, the city government overrides the authority of each individual county. It's a rare setup where one centralized government controls 5 separate counties, something you won't find anywhere else in the US. Each borough has its own identity. Manhattan is the financial powerhouse, home to Wall Street and the United Nations. Brooklyn bursts with culture, creativity, and dense population. Queens stretches out as the largest borough, known for its unmatched diversity. The Bronx holds Yankee Stadium and the country's biggest metropolitan zoo, and Staten Island offers quiet green spaces and sweeping views of the Statue of Liberty. Together, they form one of the most complex and fascinating municipal structures in the country, and that's just the beginning. Next, we go to a very unusual part of Minnesota known as the Northwest Angle. It's a small piece of land that's completely separated from the rest of the state. In fact, it's the only place in the lower 48 states that you can't drive to without going through Canada first. This makes it what's called a practical exclave, a part of the US that can only be reached by land through another country. This strange setup goes back to a mistake in early maps. Back then, people thought the nearby Lake of the Woods had a simple, oval shape. Based on that, the US-Canada border was drawn in a way that accidentally left this corner of land connected only through Canada. Later on, during the Treaty of Ghent in 1814, there were talks about changing the boundary, but the US didn't want to give up land. It worried that doing so might lead to more demands in future negotiations. And so, the Northwest Angle, sometimes just called the Angle by locals, remains part of Minnesota today. It covers around 596 square miles and stands as a reminder of how early mapmaking mistakes can still affect borders hundreds of years later. Now let's head to Oregon, where you'll find one of the most breathtaking natural landmarks in the country, Crater Lake. Located in south-central Oregon, this deep blue lake sits inside the remains of a collapsed volcano known as Mount Mazama. What makes Crater Lake especially fascinating is that no rivers flow in or out of it. Instead, it's filled entirely by rain and snowmelt, which also keeps the water incredibly clear. The lake holds 2 small islands. One is Wizard Island, a 316-acre cinder cone, and the other is a tall, jagged rock formation called Phantom Ship. But the real surprise is in its depth. Even though the lake is only about 5 to 6 miles across, it plunges to a depth of 1,949 feet, making it the deepest lake in the United States. On a global scale, it ranks as the 7th deepest lake in the world, not counting subglacial lakes in Antarctica. Crater Lake took an estimated 720 years to reach its current depth, mostly during a time when the region had less rainfall than today. There's still some hydrothermal activity beneath the lake, meaning Mount Mazama isn't entirely quiet, and could possibly erupt again someday. But for now, Crater Lake remains one of the most stunning and mysterious features of the American landscape. Geography has its highs and lows, and in California, that's true in every sense. The state is one of the only places in the world where 5 major climate zones exist side by side: desert, cool interior, highland, steppe, and a smaller area of Mediterranean climate. This mix of conditions helps California produce nearly half of the nation's fruits and vegetables, but it also creates some extreme and surprising landscapes. Take Mount Whitney, for example, the tallest mountain in the contiguous United States. It rises 14,505 feet above sea level as the crown of the Sierra Nevada range. Now here's the odd part, just 85 miles away is Badwater Basin in Death Valley, which sits 282 feet below sea level, making it the lowest point in the lower 48. That's the highest and lowest elevations in the continental U.S., sitting practically side by side in the same state. Considering the country stretches nearly 3,000 miles across, the fact that both extremes are found within such a short distance is one of the most incredible geographic coincidences in the nation. In most states, cities sit inside counties, counties roll up into the state, and everything answers to Washington, D.C. But Virginia breaks that mold. Dating back to colonial days, when the British pushed for more towns to collect taxes, Virginia's legislators struggled with low population density in rural areas, making it hard to grant proper town status. After World War I, Alexandria County finally had enough people that local leaders could provide the same services as a city. In 1922, Virginia's Supreme Court of Appeals ruled that Arlington County couldn't be split or annexed by neighboring Alexandria, effectively making Arlington the first independent city with its own county-like government. Today, this model means many Virginia cities exist outside of any county. They have separate courts, their own land use and transportation plans, and even independent school systems. In short, Virginia decided to rewrite the usual city-county hierarchy, and it's been doing things its way ever since. Next, let's explore the Florida Panhandle, that skinny stretch of land edging Alabama for about 200 miles. It's one of only 8 true panhandles in the U.S., and its 10 counties are not just geographically distinct, they're culturally different too, with a strong French influence in towns like Pensacola. Even more confusing, this region observes Central Time, while most of Florida is on Eastern Time. Gulf County is especially tricky, since it's split between both time zones. So how did this narrow strip end up part of Florida instead of Alabama? Back in 1810, the Panhandle was still Spanish territory. American settlers there felt closer to the U.S. and petitioned Congress to join the Mississippi Territory, but their request went unanswered. A decade later, Alabama's Constitutional Convention tried to claim those western lands, again without success. Finally, in 1821, Spain sold the entire region to the United States. From that point on, the Panhandle became part of Florida, which was admitted as a state in 1845. And that's why, despite its proximity to Alabama, the Panhandle remains distinctly Floridian today. Now let's talk about Texas, a state that's always done things its own way. As the second largest state in the country, Texas covers a massive 268,000 square miles and carries a cultural weight that stretches far beyond its borders. Think rodeos, 10-gallon hats, and that bold Lone Star flag. To many, Texas is the South. But here's something most people don't realize: parts of Texas sit much farther south than you might think. If you look at the southern tip of the state, specifically near the city of Brownsville, you'll find that it actually dips down to nearly the same latitude as Miami, Florida. That's right, what feels like the heart of cowboy country is, geographically speaking, deep into the tropical zone. In fact, the port of Brownsville sits just 1,290 nautical miles from Miami across the Gulf of Mexico. It's a surprising reminder that Texas isn't just southern in culture, it's literally far south on the map too. And there you have it, just a handful of the strange, surprising, and downright fascinating geographic quirks hidden across the U.S. From time zone twists to misplaced borders, the map tells more than directions, it tells stories. Stick around, because we're just getting started. America's geography has plenty more secrets to uncover.